Hi, I'm Dr. Angela McBurdy of DoctorFlute.com, and today's flute tip is on your right hand for comfort, agility, and tension-free playing. When you play, you want to have comfort. You want your hands, both hands, to be comfortable, to be relaxed, because that's what's going to give you the best speed, the most motion, and the least amount of pain. You don't want to play with any pain. And if you do have some, you know something's wrong. Either you're doing something wrong, or you have some issue that you probably need to see a medical professional about. And there are things that can be done and exercises that can help you if you're having issues. I do notice that the older I get, the more tension I feel that comes in here, and I'm careful about that now. And I do the right kinds of exercises to keep that mobility here. But there's a lot of things that you can do on your own if you just know what to look for. And that's going to give you speed, help you to have faster fingers, and maybe prevent long-term issues. As time goes on, if you do the wrong thing, you can get tendonitis and, tennis elbow, but it's wrist elbow, or in the hands, or problems in here. So you want to be very careful how you're using your hands. Now, one of the things that you want to be thinking about when you're talking about your right hand is how is it balanced on the flute. When you balance the flute here, your thumb is really holding up the flute from below. And your pinky on the E flat key is balancing from above. Now, you can't hold the flute. I wouldn't be able to hold it, well, no, I wouldn't try. I wouldn't be able to hold it with just those two fingers. Yeah, it wouldn't work. But those two, in combination with what's going on up here, hold up your flute. So it's important that there's the least amount of tension in this hand for that support, and so that it doesn't add to any other problems. The thumb here is important. Now, if he's stretched out too far this way, it's not very balanced, and you can feel that. And I have students, and even maybe a daughter, that I have to talk to all the time about move your thumb, move your thumb, move your thumb. And now that this particular video is during the COVID crisis, and so I'm giving a lot of online lessons, and I'm always telling some particular students to make sure when I'm looking at the video I can see all of your hands, because I am knowing that they're putting their thumb in the wrong spot. So often it's this way, or it's poked out too far. And when it comes out too far, what's happening here, and if you can see, if I move my thumb out, these fingers collapse, and now I'm on the metal here. Okay, and that's not good. Fingers don't move very fast. If you take that position, and if you're one that likes to have your thumb out this way, and you just pull it off like this, I'm just going to keep that position and do it. Okay, number one, it looks really weird. It feels tension, and when I do this, well, I'm actually going to have to shake my hand out, because that is very uncomfortable. And I have students that I'm talking to all the time to change that particular hand position because they've just gotten sloppy and they're doing that. So if you are pulling your thumb out too far this way, or even too far this way, if you do this and now move your fingers, you'll see that they don't move that fast. Now, do that, and then take your thumb and put it right underneath 1 and 2. And when you do that, you feel a tension release right in here. It completely relaxes. And now you can move your fingers, and you feel that they are probably, mine feel very relaxed and effortless when I move them like that. Now, another part of that is how much curve should there be. I remember, playing piano many moons ago, and you always hear, curve your fingers on the piano. And to me, that always meant playing with the tips of my fingers. But pianists don't play with the tips of their fingers. There is a curve to the fingers, right? But they want to have weight. They want to bring their wrists down, have weight when they plunk their chords down. So you want to have a natural curve, not some unnatural curve. If you're playing with your tips on the flute here, that is not going to happen. If you just try to do that, number one, you have to bring your thumb back, and I definitely have seen kids that play with their tips of their fingers. Generally, they're resting, if they're playing on their tips, they're resting this part of their finger on the metal here, letting the wrist come this way, because I think that's the only way you can do it and not have pain. Number one, it's much harder to push down the keys or not push down the keys, to cover the holes. It's definitely a harder thing to do. And if you have your plugs in, take them out and now put the pads of your fingers on those keys and slip your thumb under 1 and 2. And when you do that and you take your wrist and turn it a little bit so you're not on the metal here, all of a sudden your fingers cover those holes, and if you do this, it's very easy. It's very easy. Now, I will sometimes have students put their hand on a table. We usually, you don't have a table that's this height, so I would, we would kneel on the floor, and there's a table in the room that I teach in, and you put your hand there and you play like this. So you just move your fingers totally flat like this, and you say, okay, do that. Now do it totally with the tips. Okay, now come to the edge of the table, bring your wrist down a little bit, and now do that. And you see, even right here, I can feel the tension release. So I want my fingers to come on this way, and then I want to tilt my wrist this way, because your wrist moves. Okay, and we'll talk about pinky here in a second. But your wrist can move this way. Okay, and I want to bring the wrist down this way. If my wrist is up too high, I'm playing on the tips. And if it's down too far, because my elbow, which is generally more of what you see, you're hanging onto a bar for dear life. You're just hanging on, and you want to have your fingers set on. If I'm hanging, these don't move fast. But if I set them on, they're going to move. They're going to be there when I need them to be. So if you can see this curve right through here. My fingers are still curved, but maybe if you're looking this way, they look a little bit flat. But if I look sideways, I see that curve. Let's talk about your pinky key. Now, we all have different sizes of their pinky key, and this foot joint can move to fit your pinky. So if you've been taught that it should be, any one particular way, moved out to the edge of the keys or somewhere in between, I'll put it back where I like it, right there. Yep. It can move. This foot joint can move so that your pinky, for whatever size, whatever length it is, it can fit. I've had guy players that are, up here, and their pinkies are much longer than mine. So I'm not going to force them to have their pinky really bent in some unnatural position where they can tilt their foot joint out a little bit, and now when their fingers are on, their pinky fits much easier here. So don't try to squeeze your pinky into some mold. Put the foot joint where it's most natural. If it doesn't feel natural, then move it so that you feel like it fits. Now, sometimes students will say, "But I can't fit if I do all this, my pinky doesn't really reach," and that's because they're not tilting their wrist. If I tilt my wrist towards my pinky, all of a sudden there's plenty of pinky for all the keys that I need to get to. If I have my wrist tilted towards my left hand here, so I'm on the metal maybe, because many students do that, then how am I going to get down there? All right, I can't reach. I have to move my hand to get there, and then I got to move it back. So there's an extra movement. So move your wrist, tilt it a little bit, because that'll give you as much. Now, don't tilt it so far that it feels awkward and weird, but if you do it a little bit, it helps your D to cover that hole, for one thing. And then I can reach all my low keys if I have my wrist tilted that way. Elbow is just another area to think about. You don't want it up too high. You don't want it down too low. I like to let it bisect the angle. If you're thinking this is a straight line and my body is the other straight line, that's a 90-degree angle. I want to bisect it. So maybe it's a 45-degree angle. It's somewhere comfortable. For my students, I say, put your elbow up till it's uncomfortable in here. Now relax it. And when the tension goes away, that's where your elbow goes. It makes it move really nicely. You can keep your fingers low. If you're leaving your fingers up here, I mean, again, when we did our finger exercises, we didn't stick them up here. We did this. And so we want them down here, nice and lightly. Let's just talk light for a minute. So tension free. Are you getting done with playing flute and feeling like you have to shake your hand out? Or partway through playing, you have to do this because your fingers are so tight and you need to just relax those muscles. If that's the case, then you are pressing the keys down way too hard. If you're doing everything right, your fingers are on, your thumb is in the right place, your pinky is on, your elbow's in the right spot, then all you need to do is basically have a little effort and gravity. A little effort and gravity. My fingers work a whole lot better, and so do yours, if I keep them really light and let go of the tension in there. Everything I do for my flute playing is to get rid of tension. I don't want tension in my tone. I don't want it in my fingers. The more tension I have in my fingers, the slower they go and the more awkward they get. But if I keep them very light, they're going to move. All I need is a little thought and gravity, and it goes down. All right? So just practice that. Just up and down, this lightly, and then this one, and making sure that they all stay down. Even your pinky, when you go to a D, make that pinky stay. A lot of times my students will, go this way and they go to a D and the pinky sticks straight up. Well, that's effort. All right? That's effort. This is much more efficient. Keep your fingers down through here. And watch that wrist. Let it rotate. Don't keep it in one spot. Don't let it be over here. If you're slanting too much, I have a little bit of a slant when I play. There's definitely a little bit of a slant. I don't have it completely twisted, so there's absolutely no slant, and it's just going straight. I guess I've been playing flute too much. There's a nice indentation on my thumb. But keeping my fingers light, keeping it tension-free through here, making sure my thumb is in the right spot so that my hand feels tension-free, then when I put it on, my fingers will move as fast as I need them. So take a look at your right hand and determine whether you're having any issues at all. If you're having some tension, is there stress in it? Is it easy? Does it feel light? Do you have your fingers where they will work the most efficiently? And if that's the case, maybe you need to do some adjusting and figure out how to do it right. Now, sometimes when you're changing a hand position like that, you need to take away all the hard music you're doing and go back to just finger exercises. To work on your Taffenel and Gabert number 1 and work on it until that hand in front of a mirror. Because your mirror is your teacher telling you that you're doing something wrong. You can see when your fingers are sticking up. You could see when your thumb moves to the wrong place. Use that mirror to help you and work on light fingers. Very light, because this works much faster than that. If you put some tension in your fingers, they don't move at all. Loosen up, lighten up on your touch, and keep your fingers low. That also will help. All right, work on your right hand. Let me know how it's going. I'd be happy to hear from you. And I hope that you can get so that you have tension-free playing. Easy, light, fast, and tension-free hands. Enjoy. If you like this video, press the like button, comment below, share it with your friends, and subscribe.